How do we define happiness as we age? How do we measure happiness as we age? How do we decide the things that we cared about before actually mean something to us today or are going to mean something to us in the future? Where is that threshold? Where is that timeline? Or whatever that method is that allows us to decide to measure our current state of happiness and take that on to what it means, what it could potentially mean in the future. It's such a complicated yet simultaneously a simple conversation, right? Because what makes it simple is that we can easily make predictions based on what we've liked, what we've always been into, who we've been and who we are in the past and today. Yet what we miss is that if we're really on this journey of evolution, on this journey of growth, if we're truly pursuing what is calling our names on a day-to-day basis and moving towards our dreams, moving towards our desires, moving towards the journey of self-mastery and developing ourselves into the best version we can possibly be, then really what I notice more and more is that our sense of happiness changes. What used to be a desire, what used to be a want, what used to be exciting no longer is. The things you thought you wanted you become numb to. And this can easily be applied to commodities. This can be easily applied to things we buy for ourselves. Right? You get to enjoy that for that period of time, and then eventually it just dies out. Eventually that feeling of satisfaction is no longer the same. It can also be applied to relationships in some ways. There's the whole concept of how the first 3 years of a relationship are the magical years, right? The years that you feel the most ecstatic about that person's presence in your life. And their presence is ever changing because that person is evolving and so are you. And somewhere around year 3 to 4.5 or so, you start to feel a little bit differently about one another. You start to see things differently. Suddenly that spark, that magical sense of that relationship is no longer present the way it was before. And so now there's a deeper conversation. And this is precisely why perhaps many monogamous relationships end in that range, right? If you're in a monogamous relationship and you continue on beyond year 4, year 5, now we're talking. Like now you have actually achieved something. And those years are tough. Those years are not for everyone. Those are the years that really define what monogamy means. And I'm not here to only talk about monogamy or pick on commodities or compare to each other or anything like that. What I'm talking about is the idea of change. What I'm talking about is this bigger picture. The way we change, the way we grow, the way we look different as we age. What does that imply? What does that mean in our lives? And how much time do we actually take to reassess that change, to revisit our desires, to reconsider our wants, to think twice about the decisions we made yesterday and how they're serving us today? These are fascinating conversations, and unfortunately I don't hear anybody having them. These are interesting conversations because every 3 to 5 years or so, we go through shifts in our physiology, in our existence, in our lives, in our lifestyles. And inevitably these changes come with lifestyle choices, right? I tend to stay at home more nights than I did before a decade ago, even 5 years ago. And the way I tend to choose my time is different. The people whom I would love to spend time with are different. And the topics that I want to discuss and conversations I want to have, places I'd like to eat are different. Places I'm willing to go, the music I'm willing to listen to or pay for, and concerts I'm willing to sit down and experience are different. So change has evolved. The idea of happiness through change has evolved. And I have to honor that. I have to respect that. And this also means that in that journey, I gotta get rid of some things. There were guitars and musical instruments or memberships or things like that I've owned in the past 3, 5, 10 years, and they no longer serve me, man. They are no longer being used by me and really delivering me that sense of joy and gratitude and static energy. So I sold a guitar 2 weeks ago. And it was hard to see it go because it was such a fantastic instrument, 30, 40 years old instrument. But it was time because it was no longer serving me. And I asked myself that question: what else am I willing to get rid of? What other things am I willing to get rid of that I feel attached to? Because that's really the hardest thing, isn't it? Like, what am I willing to get rid of that I actually love? Or that I used to love? And I'm not willing to admit that I no longer love it the same way. If you can live through that, it certainly is a painful lifestyle because you constantly have to get rid of the things that you loved in the past and reassess what it means to live in that state of love today. But man, is it well worth it? Because the alternative to that is wasting some of your precious days. As we age, this recognition that time is more and more finite than ever before. Seconds and minutes are more meaningful than ever before. And my energy, your energy as you age, is more valuable than ever before because it's more limited. And so if you do not sit down and meditate on this topic of what are you willing to get rid of and what do you wish to keep in your life, what do you want to get rid of and what do you want more of in your life, then really the path that you're on is a path of consistent hurdles down the road and disappointments, resentments, anger. That path of disappointments and anger and resentment, that's a path that affects the relationships that you're in today. It affects your relationships with your loved ones tomorrow. It affects all the people around you. It affects your colleagues and your kids and everybody. So do yourself a favor and put your own life under this microscope and reassess who you are, reassess what you want, reassess what you don't want, reassess what you wanted and what you're willing to get rid of.